The stranger in the storm, the wind howled through the white emptiness. Snow fell so thick it covered everything, hiding shapes and sounds. Captain Daniel Rook moved carefully, one hand on his rifle, the other gripping the collar of his coat. The storm on planet Chorus 7 was like nothing he had ever seen. Temperatures had dropped so low that even the ice cracked from the cold. Daniel was alone. His squad had been ordered to pull back, but he stayed behind to check for any lost supplies or wounded soldiers. The war with the Vorak had lasted for years, and Daniel knew too well what could happen to anyone left behind in these deadly storms. His helmet scanner blinked with a weak signal. It was small, almost fading, but it was there. A life form, not far from his position. Could it be one of ours? He thought. He followed the signal, each step heavy in the deep snow. The wind made it hard to see, but then he heard it. A faint, broken voice calling for help. Help, someone? Daniel's heart tightened. The voice was weak, merely a whisper. He pushed forward, and after a few more steps, he saw a figure lying half buried in the snow. The armor was dark, thick, and covered with frost. It wasn't human armor. It was VORAK. Daniel raised his weapon instantly. The Vorak were cruel, merciless killers. They had taken colonies, destroyed cities, and wiped out entire human outposts. He knew what he was supposed to do. No enemy could be left alive, but something stopped him. The figure wasn't moving. The breathing was slow, almost gone. It wasn't a soldier ready to fight. It was someone dying. A part of Daniel's mind screamed to leave it, but another part, the part that remembered his own squad mates lost in battles, couldn't turn away. Damn it, Daniel muttered. He knelt beside the figure and touched the armor's chest. Plate. It was freezing cold. The body underneath was shaking. Daniel dragged the person up and over his shoulder. The Vorak was light, too light for a soldier. He hurried back toward his survival tent, the storm growing worse with every minute. Inside the heated tent, Daniel laid the figure down. The warmth inside melted the snow from the armor. For a moment, nothing happened. The figure stayed still. Barely breathing. Daniel took off his helmet, wiped the ice from his face, and grabbed his med kit. He hesitated for a second, then began working. Even if it was an enemy, no one deserved to die alone like that. Slowly, the figure's breathing grew stronger. After several minutes, the Vorak stirred. A soft groan escaped the helmet. The person tried to sit up, but collapsed again. Daniel stood, rifle in hand. Easy, Daniel said in a calm, firm voice. You're safe for now. Don't try anything. The Vorak's hand reached up and unlatched the helmet. Daniel tensed, finger on the trigger. The helmet fell away, and what Daniel saw made his breath catch. It wasn't what he expected. The face was pale, with smooth skin, soft features, and large, fearful eyes. The hair was dark, sticking to her face. She was young, no older than 20. And though there were signs of alien marks along her jaw and neck, she looked human. Daniel lowered his weapon slightly. Who? What are you? The girl's lips trembled. Please, don't hurt me, she whispered. Daniel felt a strange mix of anger and confusion. She was the enemy, but she didn't look like a killer. She looked like someone who had suffered. Why are you out here? Daniel asked. The girl shivered violently. I ran. I couldn't stay. They would have killed me. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Who would have killed you? The Vorak? She nodded, tears mixing with the melted snow on her face. I'm not like them. I never was. Daniel didn't understand. Vorak were monsters. Everyone knew that. But this girl, she was different. And if what she said was true, it could mean something much bigger. Before he could ask more, his comm unit crackled. Captain Rook, report in. Any sign of hostiles? Daniel stared at the girl, his mind racing. If he reported her, Command would order an airstrike or send a squad to finish her off. No questions asked. If he lied, he'd be risking his own life. The girl met his eyes. "Please," she whispered. "They'll find me, and you too." Daniel took a deep breath. He picked up his comm. "Negative," he said. "No hostiles here. Just storm and ice." The comm fell silent. The girl shivered again. Daniel grabbed a thermal blanket and threw it over her. He didn't know who she really was or what would happen next. But one thing was clear. He couldn't let her die, not yet. The unexpected truth, approx. 800 words. The storm outside still howled like a wild animal. Inside the tent, the heat hummed. Softly. Daniel sat on one side, rifle within reach, his eyes locked on the strange girl wrapped in a thermal blanket. She sat quietly, shivering, her pale face marked with old bruises and thin scars. Daniel had faced many enemies in his life, but none of them looked like this. She wasn't like the other Vorik soldiers he had fought, those towering, armored beasts with sharp voices and cruel faces. This girl was small, afraid, and too human for comfort. "What's your name?" Daniel finally asked. The girl hesitated, as if afraid to answer. Her eyes darted to the entrance of the tent, then back. "To him, Selah," she whispered. Daniel frowned. That wasn't a Vorik name. It sounded earthborn. "You're one of them?" he asked, voice low. Selah lowered her gaze. "I was, but I don't belong to them anymore." Daniel didn't trust her. He couldn't. But something about the way she said it felt honest. He had seen real fear before, and it was in her eyes. "Now, what were you doing out there alone?" he asked. Selah's fingers trembled as she clutched the blanket tighter. "I ran," she said. "I escaped. They were going to execute me." "Why?" Selah swallowed hard, her voice almost breaking. "Because I wouldn't follow orders. I saw what they did, what they're planning, and I couldn't be a part of it anymore." Daniel leaned forward, his heart beating faster. "What are they planning?" Selah shook her head, tears filling her eyes. I don't know everything, but I heard them talk. They want to release something. A weapon. Not just for the battlefield. For human colonies, cities, families." Daniel's stomach turned. A biological weapon? A planet killer? He had heard rumors, but Command always denied them. "You're saying the Vorak are planning to wipe out civilians?" Selah nodded. "They say the war must end quickly, and if they can't defeat your soldiers, they'll burn your homes, leave no one behind." A cold, heavy silence filled the tent. Daniel didn't know if he should believe her, but deep down, something told him she wasn't lying. The war had already shown him how cruel a Vorak could be, and now, sitting in front of him, was a living piece of their dark secret. Suddenly, Daniel's comm crackled again. "Captain Rook, respond. Enemy scout drones are in your sector." "Do you require assistance?" Daniel glanced at Selah. She looked terrified, shaking her head quickly. "Please, don't tell them I'm here." Daniel pressed the button. "Negative. No contact. I'm moving to high ground to avoid the storm." "Copy. Stay alert. HQ out." The comm fell silent. Daniel rubbed his face, unsure if he was losing his mind. He had just lied to his own command. For an enemy. But was she really the enemy now? He sighed. "You better not be playing me," he muttered. "I'm not," Selah said quickly. She reached under her blanket and pulled out a small, frost-covered locket. She opened it, and inside was a faded photo of a smiling woman holding a baby. "That's my mother," Selah said softly. "I was born on Earth. They took me when I was a child, raised me to be like them, but I never forgot." Daniel stared. At the photo, the woman had kind eyes. It felt impossible, but here it was. Proof that the enemy sitting before him was once one of his own. A sudden sharp sound outside made them both jump. A high-pitched mechanical whirring. Drone. Selah whispered. Daniel grabbed his rifle and peeked out. A Vorak scout drone floated past, scanning the snow. Its sharp red sensors cut through the storm like a knife. "It's searching for you," Daniel said. Selah nodded. "If it finds me, it'll call them." Daniel's grip tightened on his weapon. He had a choice to make. One that could get him. Killed or worse. "I know a way out of this canyon," Selah said quickly. "An old ice cave. If we move now, we can avoid their patrols." Daniel didn't like the idea. Trusting her felt dangerous. But staying here meant certain death. He nodded. "All right. Grab your gear. But know this, if you try anything, I won't hesitate." "I won't," Selah promised. Within minutes, they packed up what little supplies they had. The storm outside was as fierce as ever, but Daniel followed her through the blinding snow. And as they disappeared into the night, Daniel knew something for certain. Whatever this girl knew, it was something worth dying for. Hunted in the night, approx. 800 words. The cold cut like a blade as Daniel and Selah moved through the snow. The storm was worse now, with winds so strong they almost knocked Daniel off his feet. He held his rifle close, his other hand gripping. A small light to see Selah's footprints ahead. She moved quickly, like she knew this land better than any map. Daniel struggled to keep up, the snow rising to his knees in places. He glanced back and saw nothing but white. The drone was gone, but he knew it would be back. And probably not alone. "How far is this cave?" Daniel shouted over the wind. "Not far." Selah called back. "We have to move faster. If they send hunter units, we're dead." Daniel had fought Vorak hunters before. Machines with long claws, sharp sensors, and no mercy. They didn't take prisoners. The storm howled louder, and then a sound cut through the wind. A high-pitched screech. Selah froze. "They're here." Daniel cursed under his breath. "Keep moving." But before they could take another step, a red light swept across the snow behind them. A Vorak scout drone was back, its scanner beam searching for life signs. It hovered, then darted toward their direction. "Get down." Daniel hissed. They dove into the snow, covering themselves as best as they could. Daniel aimed his rifle, but the storm made it hard to see clearly. The drone hovered closer. Its sensors flickered, scanning the area. For a long, painful moment, Daniel held his breath. He could hear the soft hum of its engine, feel the vibration in the air. Then it turned, starting to float away. "Now!" Daniel whispered. He fired. The shot hit dead center, and the drone exploded in a small burst of flame and metal. Pieces scattered in the snow, but it was too late. A second screech came from deeper in the storm, then another, and another. "They heard that," Selah said, her voice tight with fear. "Run!" Daniel ordered. They pushed through the snow, hearts pounding, a sound of hunter units getting closer. Mechanical footsteps, heavy and fast, slammed against the ice. Red eyes appeared in the distance, cutting through the white. Daniel fired another. Shot, hitting one in the chest. It stumbled, but didn't fall. "Don't stop," Selah shouted. They raced toward a dark shape ahead, a wall of ice with a narrow opening. The entrance to the cave. Daniel fired a few covering shots and followed Selah inside. The air inside the cave was freezing but quiet. The walls were thick ice, and the storm sound faded behind them. They kept moving until a narrow path opened into a larger chamber. The ice glowed with a pale blue light. Selah leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "We should be safe here. They can't scan through the ice." Daniel stayed alert, listening for any sound of pursuit. For now, it was silent. What was that back there? Daniel asked, lowering his rifle. Hunter units, Selah said. They don't care if you're friend or enemy. Once they're sent, they kill anything that moves. Daniel shook his head. Your people are insane. Selah looked away. There. Not my people. She pulled something from under her armor. A small device, shaped like a cube. Daniel pointed his rifle at it. What is that? Selah raised her hands. It's not a weapon. It's a data chip. I took it when I escaped. Daniel frowned. What's on it? I don't know everything, Selah said. But it has. Records, plans, proof of what they're going to do. Where the weapon is stored. How they'll launch it. Daniel's heart pounded. If she was telling the truth, this could change the entire war. Why show me this now? He asked, Selah's voice was soft. Because you saved me. And because you're my only chance. If I can get this to your leaders, maybe we can stop it. Daniel didn't know whether to trust her or not. But deep inside, a voice told him this was bigger than both of them. Before he could answer, a strange sound echoed through the tunnel. Ice. A low hum. Selah stiffened. No, that's not a hunter. What is it then? Daniel asked, raising his weapon. Selah's face went pale. It's worse. It's a Vorak Reaper. Daniel didn't like the sound of that. A machine? He asked. Selah shook her head. Not just a machine, it's something else. The sound grew louder, the ice walls vibrating. Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle. Guess we're not safe after all. Selah looked up, fear in her eyes. If it finds us, we won't escape this time. Secrets of the enemy, approx. 800 words. The ice walls trembled with every pulse of that deep, strange hum. Daniel's heart thudded in his chest. He tightened his grip on his rifle, eyes fixed on the dark path ahead. The storm outside was deadly, but what was inside this? Cave felt worse. What's a reaper? Daniel asked quietly. Selah stayed against the icy wall, her face pale, eyes wide. She looked like someone remembering an old nightmare. It's a Vorak creation, she said, voice shaking. Half machine, half something else. It hunts traitors and escapees. It won't stop until it finds me. Daniel scowled. Great. How do we kill it? Selah looked up at him. You don't. Daniel cursed under his breath. Of course. Nothing in this war was ever simple. The humming sound grew louder, like a giant heart beating deep inside the ice. Small cracks formed in the walls as the thing drew closer. We need to move, Daniel said. No. They hurried deeper into the ice tunnels. The air grew colder, the light dimmer. The glow from Daniel's visor lit the way. Selah stumbled once, her body still weak from the cold and wounds. But Daniel caught her arm and pulled her. Forward. The tunnels twisted and turned, but Selah seemed to know where she was going. Where does this lead? Daniel asked. To an old Vorak outpost, Selah said. It's abandoned now. I hid there once before. There's a relay we might be able to use. Daniel raised an eyebrow. And you didn't think to mention this earlier? I didn't. Trust you, she admitted. Daniel couldn't blame her. They moved quickly, but the humming never faded. It followed them, a steady reminder that something ancient and dangerous was on their trail. After several tense minutes, the narrow tunnel opened into a large ice chamber. Faded, broken metal walls lined one side. It had once been a Vorak station, long left to rot under the snow. Daniel scanned the room. Is it safe? Selah nodded. For now. They entered carefully. Old, broken consoles lay in pieces, and frost covered everything. A single dim light flickered in the far corner. Daniel lowered his rifle for a moment. All right. You said you had proof. Let's see it. Selah knelt, and placed the small tube device on an old console. She pressed a button, and a faint blue light appeared above it, a hologram filled with Vorak symbols. Daniel frowned. "Can you read that?" Selah nodded. "I grew up with it." She tapped a few symbols, and an image appeared. It showed a map of several human colonies, circles marked in red. Daniel's stomach dropped. That's every major civilian outpost in this sector. "They're targeting them," Selah said. "Not soldiers, families, children." She brought up another image, a massive weapon being loaded onto a ship. "They call it the Black Star," she said. "A biological plague. It destroys human DNA, but leaves Vorak untouched. One drop in a city's water, and it's over." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. "Why would they do this?" "Because they're losing the war," Selah whispered. "And now they want to make sure there's no one left to fight back." Daniel took a deep breath. He had to get this information back to command, no matter the risk. But before he could speak, the humming grew louder again, so loud the ice walls shivered. Then a shape appeared at the far end of the chamber, tall, silent, covered in black armor, its head a smooth, featureless mask with a single glowing red eye. The Reaper. Daniel raised his rifle. "Run," but Selah didn't move. Her face went pale, her breathing sharp and fast. "It's looking for me," she said. "It's linked to my signal. It won't stop." Daniel fired. The bullet hit the Reaper in the chest. Sparks flew, but it kept walking, slow and steady. "I told you," Selah said quietly. "You can't kill it like that." "Then how do we stop it?" Daniel shouted. Selah hesitated, then pointed to an old power conduit on the ceiling. "Shoot that. Collapse the chamber." Daniel didn't wait. He aimed at the weak, frosted pipe and fired. The shot hit, and ice cracked. Heavy chunks of ceiling fell. The Reaper looked up, a metallic growl escaping its throat. A massive block of ice slammed down onto it, burying it in seconds. The humming stopped. The chamber filled with silence. Daniel grabbed Selah's arm. "We need to move before it gets back up." Selah nodded, her voice shaking. I know a place. A hidden supply depot. There's a comlink there. If we make it, we can send this data to your command." Daniel gave a grim smile. "Then, lead the way." As they disappeared down another icy tunnel, Daniel glanced back once, and for a moment, he thought he saw the Reaper's red eye glow again beneath the ice. Betrayal and escape, approx. 800 words. The ice tunnels felt endless. Daniel's legs ached, and his breath came out in sharp clouds in the freezing air. Selah moved ahead of him, guiding the way through tight passages and frozen chambers. The storm outside had faded, but in here the danger was far from over. "Are we close?" Daniel asked. Selah pointed ahead. "There's a supply depot up ahead. It was built by the Vorak years ago. It's abandoned now, but it still has a working comlink." Daniel felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could finally get this data chip to command and stop the Vorak's plan. Maybe this nightmare could end, but something didn't feel right. A sound reached Daniel's ears, not the hum of a Reaper, not the screech of drones. It was voices. Human voices. Daniel grabbed Selah's arm and pulled her behind a wall of ice. He raised a finger to his lips, signaling silence. Voices came closer. "Check over there. Watch for Vorak traps." Human soldiers. Daniel's pulse quickened. A search team. Probably sent after him when he lied on the come earlier, at first. He felt relief. Then he realized what would happen if they saw Selah. No questions. No second chances. She'd be shot on sight. And if command found out Daniel had been hiding an enemy, even one with critical intel, he'd be labeled a traitor. "Stay here," Daniel whispered. "But do it." He stepped out into the open, rifle lowered. 2. Human soldiers spotted him instantly. Captain Rook. One of them called. By order of HQ, you're to surrender your weapon and report for detainment. Daniel frowned. Detainment? For what? A soldier didn't answer. He raised his weapon. Drop it. How? Daniel's mind raced. Had Command already figured out what he was hiding? Or maybe one of the drones had picked up Sayla's signal before he shot it down. Either way, this wasn't going to end well. I don't have time for this, Daniel said. Another soldier stepped forward. You're interfering with a classified operation. HQ says you've been in contact with an enemy defector. Daniel forced a cold smile. And what if I told you that defector had intel that could save every colony in this sector? The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. Daniel took a step forward. She's not a threat. She risked her life to bring us this. He held up the data chip, evidence of the Vorax plague weapon. The lead soldier hesitated, then shook his head. Orders are orders, Captain. He raised his weapon again. Daniel moved fast. He grabbed a fist-sized chunk of ice and hurled it at the soldiers. Face. The man staggered back. Daniel spun, firing a shot at the cave ceiling. Ice broke loose and fell, creating a wall of frozen debris between them. Run! Daniel shouted. SAE Law was already moving. They dashed down another tunnel, the sounds of the soldiers' shouts and footsteps echoing behind them. They'll chase. You? Sayla said breathlessly. I know, Daniel growled. But we've got the head start. They raced through winding tunnels, the walls shimmering like glass. Daniel could hear the pursuit closing in. Then ahead, a faint green light. Depot, Sayla cried. It was a small chamber of old Vorak tech. Rusted crates, broken power cells, and a tall tower stood in the center, still blinking with weak light. Daniel reached it first, sliding to the console. Can you send the data? He asked. Sayla was already there, jamming the chip into a slot. The console hummed weakly. Signal's weak, she said. But I can boost it for one message. Hurry. Sayla worked fast. The link crackled, and Daniel's earpiece buzzed. This is Captain Rook, requesting immediate contact with Command Priority Alpha. Nothing. Static. And a voice answered. Rook? Where the hell have you been? You're wanted for treason. I've got intel on the Vorax plague weapon, Daniel barked. Sending it now. Sayla pressed a final button. The data chip glowed, and a faint green bar on the console showed the transmission 0.10%. 40%, 70%. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel behind them. Daniel spun, rifle raised. The same soldiers appeared, weapons ready. No escape this time, Rook. The lead soldier snarled. Saela cried out as a shot grazed her arm. Daniel fired back, forcing them to take cover. 90%, 95%. Cover me. Sayla shouted. Daniel dropped to one knee, laying down suppressing fire 0.100%. The console beeped. Message sent. Sayla gasped. Daniel grabbed a nearby grenade from a crate and tossed it toward the soldiers. Time to go, he shouted. They dove out through a side tunnel as the grenade exploded behind them. The blast collapsed the entrance, cutting off the soldiers for now. Breathing hard, Daniel glanced at Sayla. Blood trickled down her arm, but she was smiling. We did it, she said. Daniel allowed himself a grin. Yeah, now let's make sure we stay alive long enough to see what happens next. The tunnel ahead was dark and narrow, but it was their only way out. Daniel's arm ached, his muscles sore, and every step felt heavier than the last. Sayla limped beside him, her wounded arm pressed against her side. Blood stained her sleeve, but she didn't complain. Behind them, the collapsed tunnel groaned under the weight of ice and debris. Think we lost them? Sayla asked, her voice hoarse. Daniel listened carefully. No footsteps, no voices, no drones. Now, he said. They reached a wide chamber at the end of the tunnel. The ceiling stretched high, frost hanging in long, sharp icicles. Old Vorik crates sat against the walls, covered in ice. In the center stood a large open platform, with ancient power conduits sparking weakly. Daniel looked around. No other way out. This is it, Selah whispered. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the hum returned, deeper, stronger, closer than ever. Daniel's stomach twisted. No, Selah breathed. It's still alive. From the shadows, a tall shape emerged. Black armor cracked from earlier damage. One glowing red eye shining through the dust. The Reaper. Daniel gritted his teeth and raised his rifle. I'm tired of this thing, he muttered. Sae Law stepped forward, weak but determined. It won't stop, Daniel. Not unless we kill its core. Daniel frowned. Where? In its chest, behind the armor plate. It's shielded, but there's a weak spot when it charges to strike. The Reaper took a step forward, its heavy footfall shaking the ground. The hum filled the chamber. It's... Red eye fixed on Selah. I'll distract it, Daniel said. You aim for the core. Selah grabbed a fallen Vorak blade from one of the crates. Its edge was jagged, but it would have to do. I'm not leaving you, she said. Daniel smirked. Didn't ask you to. The Reaper roared, a deep metallic sound. And it charged. Daniel fired. Bullet after bullet slammed into its chest, sparks flying, but it kept coming. Come on, you oversized tin can. Daniel shouted. The Reaper raised an arm, a long blade snapping from its wrist. It swung at Daniel, the metal screaming through. The air. Daniel rolled aside, barely dodging the strike. Now, Selah, he yelled. Selah darted forward, using the distraction to get close. She leapt, driving the Vorak blade deep into a small crack just beneath the Reaper's armor plate. The machine howled. A burst of energy shot from its chest as its systems overloaded. Sparks exploded from its joints. It staggered backward, swiping blindly at the air. Daniel didn't hesitate. He grabbed a power cell from a nearby crate, armed it like a grenade, and hurled it into the open chest cavity. The Reaper's eye flared. Then it exploded. The shockwave blasted them both backward. Daniel hit the icy floor hard, the sound of the explosion echoing in his ears. Shards of metal and ice rained down. When the dust cleared, the Reaper was gone, a smoking pile of broken parts. Daniel groaned, sitting up. Is it dead? Selah coughed weakly, but smiled. It's dead. They sat there for a moment, exhausted, breathing heavily in the cold air. Suddenly, Daniel's tongue crackled. Captain Rook, this is command. We received your transmission. Stand by for evac. Good work, soldier. Daniel blinked. After everything, they believed him. And the defector? The voice asked. Daniel looked at Selah, who was watching him quietly. He thought of the battles, the soldiers lost, the colonies in danger, and the courage Selah had shown. The war might have made them enemies, but in that moment, she was more human than half the people he fought beside. She's coming with me, Daniel said. You want that intel? She stays alive. A pause. Understood? Dropship inbound. 5 minutes. Daniel smiled. He glanced at Selah. Looks like you're stuck with me. She gave a tired laugh. I could have done worse. As the dropship's engines roared overhead, Daniel helped her to her feet. Together, they made their way to the landing zone. The snow beginning to fall gently outside. For the first time in days, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in a long while. Hope. Final hooked ending. As the dropship rose into the sky, far below in the ruins of the Vorak base, something flickered. Among the wreckage of the Reaper, A tiny backup core blinked once, then went dark. For now. The end.